The story starts with a talented boy named Xiao Yu. He had just set a record in the 100-meter race, running super fast in 9.59 seconds. At only 18 years old, this was his first big competition, and it was the best day of his life. That day got even better when Xiao Yu asked his girlfriend, Yue, to marry him. Everyone in his town was proud of Xiao Yu, and he became a big hero. Many kids wanted to be like him, including Tian Yi, Xiaofang Bin Qi, and Tai Ju, who all wanted to be amazing athletes too. Out of all of them, Tian Yi was the happiest and most excited to train with Xiao Yu. He was Xiao Yu's biggest fan and had admired him since he was little. But Tian Yi's excitement sometimes went too far. He would massage Xiao Yu's back, get tissues for him, and even force him to take pictures together. This made Xiao Yu feel uncomfortable, and he started wondering if Tian Yi was a little too obsessed. Tian Yi told Xiao Yu that he was his biggest inspiration and that he dreamed of becoming a runner ever since he saw Xiao Yu in a race. Tian Yi was so inspired that he gave Xiao Yu a pair of shoes, just like the ones Xiao Yu wore when he became a champion. But Xiao Yu didn't accept the gift. After a while, Xiao Yu started staying away from Tian Yi because he felt nervous around him. Tian Yi's dream of becoming a runner was big, but it was also hard for him. He had a condition that made it tough to focus. Whenever a race started, Tian Yi always missed the right timing and ended up falling behind. It made it hard for him to succeed. Xiao Yu knew about Tian Yi's struggles. To help him, Xiao Yu trained Tian Yi to focus by throwing a ball and asking him to catch it. Although Tian Yi couldn't catch the ball, his speed was impressive that it's just one step away from success. However, Xiao Yu wasn't impressed and believed Tian Yi's abilities would never match his own. Xiao Yu showed his collection of gold medals to Tian Yi, but didn't let him hold any of them. He wanted Tian Yi to earn his own medals and prove himself as a champion, because only the winner is remembered in competitions. At that time, Tian Yi took this as motivation to push himself harder. He wanted to achieve the same success as Xiao Yu. Together, they trained late into the night, sacrificing rest to focus on their shared dream of competing in the Olympics. Tian Yi eventually got the chance to compete in a race that could kickstart his professional career and win his first medal. Despite his illness being a constant challenge, Tian Yi refused to give up and worked hard to be as great as Xiao Yu. Tian Yi finally won his first gold medal. His friends celebrated his victory with excitement. Even though Xiao Yu had been drinking during the celebration, his words were meaningful. He reminded Tian Yi that his achievements would not only make his friends proud, but would also bring pride to their country. As time went on, Xiao Yu's career, like most athletes, didn't last long. Xiao Yu believed his performance was still good enough, but his coach thought otherwise. This disagreement led Xiao Yu to pack his things, planning to leave and find a better coach who could support him more effectively. Tian Yi didn't want his idol to leave. Their dream of competing in the Olympics together hadn't come true yet. To stop him, Tian Yi challenged Xiao Yu to a race, saying that if Tian Yi won, Xiao Yu had to stay. Frustrated and angry, Xiao Yu accepted the challenge. He wanted to prove that he was still far better than any runner there. Xiao Yu won the race, but Tian Yi wasn't satisfied with the result. He had followed everything Xiao Yu taught him, yet he still lost. Xiao Yu didn't answer Tian Yi's question about why he failed. Instead, he told Tian Yi to take care of himself and said he was leaving. Tian Yi asked if they would meet at the Olympics next year, but Xiao Yu ignored the question. He walked away, giving Tian Yi a thumbs up as a farewell gesture. Xiao Yu's fame in China made it easy for him to find a new coach. However, starting over wasn't simple, so he decided to go to America. Unfortunately, things didn't go as he had hoped with his new coach. The coach made it clear that he didn't care if Xiao Yu was the best in China or even in Asia. To the coach, Xiao Yu was just like everyone else and not special at all. However, Xiao Yu didn't give up. He trained hard every day and worked to meet his coach's expectations. But no matter how much effort he put in, it didn't seem to matter. The coach treated him just as harshly as the other runners. Over time, Xiao Yu's life started to fall apart. He stopped eating properly, his speed slowed down, and his legs became more prone to injuries. Things got worse when Xiao Yu began drinking heavily and partying every night. His wild lifestyle pushed him further into trouble. The turning point came when Xiao Yu was involved in a serious accident. This forced him to leave America and return to China. Reporters and online media rushed to cover Qiao Yu's return to China. They asked if he planned to continue his career as an athlete. With a big smile, Qiao Yu said he was retiring. After years of competing, he felt it was enough and shared his plan to start a business. Among the crowd, Qiao Yu was surprised to see Tian Yi. Tian Yi came to remind Qiao Yu of his promise to compete together at the Olympics. But Qiao Yu told Tian Yi that the fiery passion he had as a young athlete was gone. Now he wanted to step away from the sport. Qiao Yu admitted that Tian Yi might be upset, but he believed Tian Yi would understand as he grew older. Qiao Yu's new business, selling running shoes, started off strong, just like most businesses run by famous people. His branded shoes were displayed in many stores, though most were fake, just carrying his name. At first, many customers visited, which tempted Qiao Yu to take out a large loan from the bank. But soon, problems began piling up. Now, his store was only busy during raffle events, even though he rigged them so that his friends always won. His shop became more of a place for people to gather and watch TV, and he earned only a small amount from people who paid to watch. Surprisingly, most of those visitors came just to watch Tian Yi's races, as his career was shining brighter than ever. Qiao Yu started to notice that his advertisements were being replaced by ones featuring Tian Yi's face instead of his own. Qiao Yu's life was falling apart. His career was over, his store was empty, and now he was drowning in debt. He owed money to his friends and the delivery service that handled his goods. In desperation, Qiao Yu even tricked an old friend for his own gain. All the chaos in his life made him bitter, and he started blaming running for everything. He grew to hate the sport. When his son begged to join the running club at school, Qiao Yu refused and told him to focus on studying instead, saying there was no need to become an athlete like him. Qiao Yu's troubles didn't stop there. He was 6 months behind on his bank loan payments, and the bank was about to take his house. But instead of facing reality, Qiao Yu arrogantly promised to pay everything, including the interest, within a month. Meanwhile, Tian Yi's career was reaching new heights, but his illness was getting worse. The breaking point came during a press conference after one of his races. The constant stream of questions from reporters made Tian Yi dizzy, and he could only say one thing: that he was tired. He wanted to say more, but before he could, Ben Qi, now his assistant, pulled him away. However, Tian Yi's unfinished words didn't go unnoticed. Netizens on social media quickly figured out that he had said he wanted to retire. The news spread like wildfire, becoming the hottest topic of conversation everywhere. There, Ben Qi warned Tian Yi that it wasn't the right time to retire. Tian Yi still had contracts and responsibilities to fulfill. But Tian Yi didn't care anymore. His illness had pushed him to his limit, leaving him with two bad choices. The first was to take his medication and risk being disqualified for doping, and the second was to retire immediately. After arguing with Ben Qi, Tian Yi suddenly found an old photo of their training ground. On the back was an invitation for a reunion at the place where they used to train. The invitation was from Qiao Yu, though the reason for it wasn't clear. Without thinking much, Tian Yi decided to accept and planned to go right away. When Tian Yi arrived, it turned out that Qiao Yu had planned everything. Qiao Yu had arranged for his people to separate Tian Yi from Ben Qi. One of Qiao Yu's friends picked up Ben Qi, while Qiao Yu personally met Tian Yi at another part of the harbor. Even though Tian Yi was still feeling unwell, Qiao Yu took him out into the city. To Tian Yi's surprise, people were lined up along the streets, cheering for him like he was royalty. Qiao Yu then brought him to meet the mayor, who was there for a special event. Tian Yi had been invited to the unveiling of a statue in his honor in his hometown. After giving a speech at the event, Tian Yi suddenly turned to Qiao Yu and challenged him to a rematch on the spot. At that time, Tian Yi still couldn't accept his loss from their previous race. There, Qiao Yu let Tian Yi win on purpose because he had another plan. He took Tian Yi to his store, where many fans were waiting to take pictures with him. After the photos, Tian Yi asked to talk to Qiao Yu privately. He wanted to know why Qiao Yu had invited him there. At first, Qiao Yu avoided the question and made small talk, but Tian Yi quickly realized the truth that Qiao Yu wanted to use him to promote the store as a brand ambassador. Tian Yi didn't agree at first. He said the Qiao Yu he admired would never act so selfishly. He told Chao Yu he would only help if Chao Yu could bring back his fighting spirit and stop acting like this. Chao Yu then showed Tian-yi all his medals and said he could take them, but only if he signed a contract. Tian-yi was disappointed to see how manipulative Chao Yu had become, so he refused and walked away. Chao Yu then took Tian-yi to his warehouse and told him the truth. He admitted that his business had failed, he had too much debt, and his career was over. Even after hearing this, Tian-yi still refused to help. Tian-yi said that Chao Yu had always been arrogant, and now he was acting the same way. Chao Yu felt hurt and angry. He called Tian-yi ungrateful and reminded him that without Chao Yu's training, Tian-yi wouldn't have had his successful career. In the end, after all the arguing, Tian-yi finally signed the contract, but it was clear he wasn't happy about it. Long story short, the contract with Tian-yi allowed Chao Yu to gain trust from investors by exchanging his metals for money. This gave him a chance to keep his business running. However, the money didn't last long, and Chao Yu's business still couldn't be saved. Chao Yu stayed arrogant and refused to listen to advice from anyone. He kept trying different ways to keep his business alive. But his former partners, knowing his bad habits, chose to stay away from him. They didn't want to lose their money by getting involved with Chao Yu again. With no options left, Chao Yu finally gave up. He returned home, feeling defeated. When he got there, the bank representatives were already waiting for him, reminding him of his promise to pay. Unable to fulfill the promise, Chao Yu told them they could take his house. His wife, tired of their difficult life, decided to leave him, filing for divorce. Chao Yu quietly accepted her decision. Now, Chao Yu found himself with nothing. No job, no home, and no family. Meanwhile, Tian-yi also decided to quit his career as an athlete. Feeling lost, he didn't want to continue. Ben Shi, frustrated with Tian-yi, slapped him and told him that he was too obsessed with Chao Yu. Ben Shi said Tian-yi was giving up just because he saw Chao Yu give up. He explained that life doesn't have to follow the same path as someone else's. Ben Shi handed Tian-yi his medicine and told him that whatever decision he made, it was his own choice. As for Chao Yu, he didn't know where to go next. He decided to gather some old friends and spend the night drinking at a small bar nearby. That night, they laughed together, pretending for a moment that their lives had no problems at all. However, the laughter in the room suddenly stopped when Chao Yu pulled out the contract he had with Tian-yi. Without hesitation, he burned the contract and said that he had nothing left. He admitted he was now unemployed, homeless, and without a family. Tian-yi responded, saying he also had nothing left. The medicine he had taken earlier had ended his career as an athlete. Tian-yi then asked Chao Yu why they never competed in an official race against each other. Half drunk, Chao Yu replied that people only remember the winner and forget everyone else. When he returned to China, Chao Yu already felt he couldn't be a champion anymore, which is why he chose to give up. Tian-yi pleaded with Chao Yu to train him one last time so they could have a proper race. But Chao Yu refused, even when his friends encouraged him to agree. He remained stubborn and asked Tian-yi why he still couldn't see that their days as athletes were over. Tian-yi had taken performance-enhancing drugs, and Chao Yu had lost everything. Chao Yu told his friends to stop advising him, and then called them losers who could never be athletes like him and Tian-yi. Hearing this, Tian-yi stood up and said he now realized he had chosen the wrong person to look up to. Ben Shi and the others also stood, feeling ashamed for coming there. They were hurt by Chao Yu's words but held back their anger. Instead of arguing, they decided to go their separate ways, each choosing their own path without blaming one another. When everyone left, Chao Yu was left alone, consumed by emptiness. He felt completely lost, not knowing where his life would go from there. As Chao Yu walked alone, a car suddenly stopped behind him. It was his wife, Yue. She handed him a gold medal, and it's the very first one Chao Yu had won, which marked the beginning of their marriage. While giving him the medal, Yue told him she wanted to see him run again. Not on the track, but in his own life. After Yue left, Chao Yu realized all the mistakes he had made. He decided there was still one way to make things right. Chao Yu started running, heading toward the harbor where Tian-yi's ship was leaving for the capital. No matter how fast Chao Yu ran, he couldn't catch up with the ship. On the ship, Tian-yi suddenly felt thirsty and asked Ben Shi to get him some water. That night, it was Chinese New Year, and the ship's lights were turned off so passengers could enjoy the fireworks. But Tian, he wasn't watching the fireworks. Instead, he noticed a shadow, and it's a figure running after the ship. It was Chao Yu. Chao Yu kept running, shouting Tian Yi's name, telling him that he was running again, that he had risen and wasn't giving up anymore. Unfortunately, Chao Yu's stamina wasn't what it used to be. He collapsed on the dock, unsure if Tian Yi could hear him. Meanwhile, on the ship, Tian Yi began to cry. He regretted taking the medicine, knowing that no matter how hard he tried, the doping rules would block his dreams. From a distance, Ben Chi watched him and smiled. He brought the drink Tian Yi had asked for, and then took the same medicine Tian Yi had been taking. Ben Chi finally admitted that the pills were just vitamin C. He explained that Tian Yi's desire to quit was simply an emotional reaction to exhaustion from his routine as an athlete. Realizing this, Tian Yi smiled brightly. He felt hopeful again, knowing that his dream of competing in the Olympics was still alive and waiting for him. In the end, Chao Yu truly turned his life around. He was no longer the loser he once was. Step by step, he rebuilt his life. Chao Yu started a new business, and this time it was successful, earning him more money than he ever made as an athlete. He remembered his ex-wife's words about running again, even if it wasn't on the track, and used them as motivation to keep moving forward. With his newfound wealth, Chao Yu decided to support Tian Yi in achieving his dream of going to the Olympics. He also managed to reunite with his family. The son he once stopped from running was now allowed to pursue the sport, and Chao Yu even supported him during his races. His son won and became a champion, inheriting Chao Yu's golden talent. Chao Yu didn't stop there. He also helped fund his friends so they could chase their dreams, believing they had the potential to achieve great things. As for Tian Yi, he finally reached his dream of competing in the Olympics. Although Chao Yu and Tian Yi never raced together on the same track, Chao Yu was proud to have played a part in helping Tian Yi reach his goals. The film ends. The moral lesson from this film is don't chase a ship after it leaves. Just buy a ticket next time, or you'll end up on a dock crying for vitamin C.